Well, hello, all my tubers. I will have three topics I'm going to discuss in this video. The first one I think most of my viewers will enjoy. The second and third one, well, the second one maybe, maybe not. The third one, yeah, I think everybody will, want to listen. But if they don't, you can click off of it. That's what's nice about YouTube. You can click off the video or click through it. You don't have to watch the whole thing. I know a lot of people probably just click through videos. I watch, like some of the tubers I really like, I watch all their video. Some of them I just click through. I think that's just the way it is. Everybody kind of does that. But today's video is going to be on the Catalina. We got the fabric at last. This is the new reproduction material for the front seat. And I think I'm just going to have the back seat done at the same time, seeing I got enough to do it, because this looks really, really nice, a lot cleaner. I mean, comparing it to the front seat, you can see the difference in cleanliness. Yeah, so the back seat's a lot better than the front seat, but it's still faded down, not as nice as that. So I'm going to get a hold of the guy that does the upholstery and see about getting the ball rolling on it. I think what I'll do is I'll just pull the seats, front and back seat, out of the car and take them to him. First I got to talk to him and find out when's a good time for him to tackle it, so the car doesn't sit here all winter without seats in it, because I can still move it and still actually drive it. But like I say, I think we'll see what the cost is, what I can afford, but I think we'll have both seats done. And I think while the back seat's out, I'll pull a package tray out and repaint it. It was originally this color right here, so I'll repaint it back to that color. And then the interior in this car, and I'll fix that armrest. And then the upholstery, the interior will be like brand new. And this is the vinyl. This is a basement bedroom that's kind of become a storeroom, but these are the vinyl. These are for the front seats. That's for the back seat because it's all one big long piece. This is for the front seat because, as you can see, it's a split bench, so it has that cut. But this is the logo that's on the seat. This is the rest of the roll of vinyl for the rest of the seat right there. And so that'll get the seats going. This bedroom, basement bedroom, I'm gonna probably at this winter rip the paneling out of here and drywall it. So yeah, that's gonna be a bit of a job, so uncar related work. So anyway, yeah, that's the vinyl right there. Okay, now that I've covered this topic, there isn't much more to talk about it other than I got the material. When I ordered this, which was 9 months ago today, March 6th, was when I ordered this material, and SMS Fabrics said they would be 6 weeks to have this done. Here it is, 9 months to the day later, and there it sits. So yeah, it looks really awesome, great match. But it took 9 months, not 6 weeks like they stated. So anything related to old cars, I don't care what you have done, it's going to take forever, because these are toys. They're not like, oh, I don't need this car to go to work or run the kids around or, go shopping or whatever. So it's not that important, right? So anything old car related is always backburnered, time consuming. I talk to people all the time. They complain they take their car to a garage and they have it for 6 months or a year to do, some minor little work on it. And that's because they put it on the back burner, because they got to get the cars done that people need to go to work and run the kids around and, do everything they need to do. So that's why old cars take a long time. If you want your old car done in a timely manner, find somebody that only works on old cars. You may pay a little bit more, but you'll get it done and done right. A lot of these mechanics that you know, in these regular garages, they only work on new stuff. They don't know a lot about this old stuff. So they, you know, they just don't know what they're doing all the time when it comes. These old cars are a little different animal to work on than the newer cars. So you find somebody that kind of specializes in working on old cars, you get a little better job and a little, you know, a little shorter turnaround time. But anything with old cars, I don't care what it is, time consuming. I guarantee you these seats are not going to be done in a week. It'll probably be a couple of months from when I take them out to when I get them back. And maybe I'm thinking a couple months is quick. It may be 6 months. Who knows? Like I say, anything with old cars is just time consuming. And I've had Evan, he commented that they're taking 3. He has a 60 Dodge Dart Pioneer Astro Atomic. If you look at his videos, you'll see it in a couple of his videos. And he said something about they're taking 3 weeks to put the window in. Well, you look at these windows with this curve, and you think, oh my God, what a pain to put that window in. You know, these new ones, you just put the urethane around and smack it down, and you think you're done. Well, these old cars, you gotta take all this trim off. The trim here, the screws for the trim are underneath this trim. And then you got to pull a headliner back to get at the nuts to get that trim off. So it's a little bit of work. You got to take the windshield wiper assemblies out, take the cowl out to get the screws for this trim off. I've put 7 windshields in my 59 Chevy over the past 40 years, and it's essentially the same as this. The sedan has a little higher roof line, so it's a little taller than the coupe, so the window's a little bigger. But essentially, when you go to put these windshields in, and even if you're replacing the gaskets, like I've replaced gaskets on the rear window of the Chevy, this still has all original. But you put the glass into the car, and the rubber will be touching there, and you'll be able to put your fist through the opening here. And let me pause this, and I'll get what I use to put windshields in. This is what I use to put windshields in. It's basically just a small rope, and it's just a regular rope. You can buy it at your hardware, and it's got the black on it as the windshield sealer. So what you do is you take this rope, that's why it's a long rope, and you wrap it around you put the gasket on the glass with your sealer in there, and then you put the glass with this rope in between where that weather strip goes into the pinch weld. It has like a little rubber flap, and you put the rope around in that, and you put sealer in that, and you put your windshield up here. And like I say, it may be touching here, and it may be touching down here, but you can put your fist in here, and you think, oh, that windshield's never going to fit that car. You get inside the car, and you start pulling this rope, and it pulls that rubber lip down into the metal and sets the windshield down in. And within a couple minutes, your windshield has no gap and is in like this. So putting the windshield in, taking the glass out and putting it in isn't the big deal on these cars. The big deal on these cars is all the trim that has to come off. Like I say, the wiper arms, the escutcheons, the cowl, the trim, all that stuff has to come off, and the screws are underneath this cowl. So it's a bit of a chore when you do these windshields to do it, but they do come apart fairly easy. So you take this off by pulling a little clip up under here, and that allows that to pop off, and then you get a special tool and you undo that, and this whole assembly comes off. And then these are the screws that you take out, and they go all the way around, and then this just kind of lifts up and out, and then you can see the screws that hold your trim on. So that's really not, it sounds like a lot of work, but it's really, you know, may take an hour to get all the trim off the windshield. So it is a little more time consuming. When I put the windshields in the Chevy, that's got easy eye glass, the 59 Chevy. The windshield's about $600. The gasket's $150, maybe the last time I bought one anyway, which has been probably 20 years. And you can reuse the gaskets if they're not cracked or split or anything. Also, on changing windshields in these old cars, you have to take all the interior trim off too, because that's where you're going to be pulling with your rope from inside here. And this other end of the gasket here sits down into the pinch weld all the way around. So you do have to take all the interior trim completely off. That molding, this molding, the molding across, all of it has to come off to change the glass in these old cars. And that's the same with the rear window. Now this just doesn't have a trim on there, it's just the rubber is there, but you still have to pull the trim there. And this has no trim, but you do have to pull your package tray to get to that bottom weather strip there. So, you know, it's just a matter of being patient and just take your time, take the things apart, you know, so you don't want to tear the headliner or anything. And you got to take this piece of trim off here, and the screws are right here. We'll take this piece of trim off, and then this piece will have a couple more screws under this that hold that piece of trim on. So yeah, I can tell you all about changing glass in these cars. I've done them, and like I say, the Chevy has easy eye glass, so finding a clear glass is a little harder than a tinted glass. A lot of the windshields that you find are tinted. To find one that's clear is, you almost have to find a used one, but the rest of the glass is no problem. Just clear windshields seem to be a little harder to find. All right, getting back to the cars, like Evan was saying something about, they have to replace his engine and transmission because the engine, I guess, was stuck or seized up or something. And a lot of times people don't realize the cost in putting a new engine and transmission in. Often requires other changes. The engine may mount differently. The transmission may mount differently. The spline output shaft on the transmission may be different and different lengths, so your drive shaft length has to be changed. All the linkages, everything that shifts the car, the radiator, all kinds of things, you know, will have to be changed. The brackets to hold the accessories, and that all costs money. Sometimes they're just cheaper if you don't want to spend the money. It's just a little cheaper just to rebuild the original engine and stuff it back in. If it's all complete, if it's all there, if the brackets, air cleaner, carburetor, distributor, everything, if the engine is complete, often you'll find it cheaper just to rebuild the engine. And if it's seized, rusted bores, they can be bored, they can even be re-sleeved. That's not an issue. I've had it done before. If you have, you know, 1 or 2 cylinders bored or sleeved, you can have all 8 or all 6 or whatever done for not much more. Once they get the machine set up to do the work, it's just a matter of going from one to the other. So it's just time consuming to get it set up to do one. Now I like to have, when I have boring done, I like to get the pistons and have the cylinders bored to the piston, and then the pistons numbered to what cylinder they go in. A lot of places they just bore the cylinders to a size and give you the pistons and you're on your own, but when I worked on marine engines, that's not how we did things. We always had the cylinders honed to fit the piston. Anything old car related, though, it doesn't matter what you're having done. If you're having a restoration done and you don't want that local garage that just works on newer cars work on your car, go to a car cruise, talk to people. Believe me, you'll find somebody that loves to work on these old cars in their garage at home, and they'll often work at a reasonable price and get the job done. Sometimes it takes a while because a lot of times those guys work full time and they, you know, can only work on it in their spare time. Now I worked on this in my spare time. Some days 4 hours, you know, here and there, and some days 6 hours, and some weekends I'd work on it 10, 12 hours a day, 2 days in a row. So, or holidays or whatever. So it's just kind of the way it is with old cars. They're a toy, and nobody's in a big hurry to do anything on them. So that kind of covers this. That was kind of the second topic, is, you know, time consumption on getting things done like this material. But I'm really happy I got it. I think they did a top-notch job. I have no complaints with it. I think this is amazing material. It came out really nice. Just like what's in the car. It was just slow. Typical of anything to do with an old car. So that was the number 2 thing I was going to talk about, is you just got to be patient when it comes to these old cars to have anything done on them. Alright, I'm going to go into one other topic and then I'll wrap up the video. This is the other topic. As you remember, last March I had videos. We had a windstorm, we lost our power, and the telephone pole was broken. So just this past week they replaced the pole. You can see where they've cut it off right there, and this is the new pole. And the electric company DTE Energy is running all new lines, everything through the neighborhood. And I picked up a bunch of cigarette butts in my backyard from the DTE employees today, which I didn't really appreciate. And that pole was in my neighbor's yard. It's not even in my yard. They're up on the pole, and the wind was blowing from the south, and they're smoking their cigarettes and flicking them right down into my yard. But I asked them about moving those 3 power lines that go over my garage roof, and as you remember, I was concerned about them coming down and starting a fire. So I submitted a work order today for them to come out and remove the power lines from over my garage. They're going to reroute them. So the neighbors, that's one neighbor's power line. That's my cable internet line. That's the power line that goes to my house, and that's the power line that goes to my other neighbor's house. So that power line and that power line are going to be removed. I don't know that they could do anything with that one unless they bury it, which I don't know. I think I'll just leave that one alone, but at least get the other 2 down, because that one runs right up against that tree over there, and if that tree breaks, down that power line's gonna come. So yeah, that was the other thing I had. Mainly put this in so my dad can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, I didn't appreciate coming out here and finding cigarette butts and plastic bottles and whatnot in my garden. So I had a word with DTE about it. I had a word with City Hall about it. Hopefully this video, has answered some questions, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try and answer them. And thank you for watching my videos.